resilience, heroism, a determination to stay on one's land, a commitment to finding justice, no matter how long it takes, no matter the cost. All of these characterize Palestinian Sumud and really provide a model for the whole world. And our role as Rebuilding Alliance has been to support that. My name is Donna Baranski-Walker. I'm the founder and executive director of Rebuilding Alliance. This is Rebuilding Alliance's 20th anniversary. For 20 years, Rebuilding Alliance has been providing aid and advocacy to Palestinian families throughout the West Bank, in Gaza, and in East Jerusalem. Our goal from the start was to support Palestinian human rights, and by so doing, support Palestinian Sumud. It makes such a difference to provide the tangible means for things that can't wait for a peace agreement, for people to have homes and jobs and schools, to have a promising future. We started both in Gaza and in the West Bank nearly simultaneously. One of our projects was building a kindergarten in Al-Aqaba in the West Bank's Area C. The village had been used for live-fire military training by the Israeli army for 30 years until the village brought suit. That's when Israel's High Court forced the Israeli army to stop firing weapons there. Before that, many villagers were killed or injured, and most were driven away. The first victim was Haj Sami Sadek, who became the head of the village. Mayor Haj Sami wanted to bring the villagers home. He asked Rebuilding Alliance to start with a kindergarten to show them that the village was safe and give the families a reason to return. Our kindergarten would become the heart of a thriving village. After another High Court case, Rebuilding Alliance would bring a famous Palestinian architect to work with the families to design their homes. We'd helped Mayor Haj Sami create the village plan that helped Al-Aqaba build more than 60 homes. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip in 2003, Rachel Corrie, a young American, was killed by an Israeli army bulldozer set to demolish the house where she'd been staying. When I met her parents, Cindy and Craig Corrie, I asked if we could rebuild destroyed Gaza homes in Rachel's name. They said yes, and a year later, the Corries became two of Rebuilding Alliance's founding board members. We started with the home Rachel stood to protect, where pharmacist Dr. Samir Nasrallah, his family, and his brother's family lived. We even brought them on our U.S. speaking tour with the Corries to raise the funds. When in Gaza, I stayed with the Nasrallah family to develop the construction plans. I learned how to set a big goal and that you only needed to know the next 2 steps. We finished that first house in 2007. And that was just as the blockade of Gaza became permanent. I thought we'd pretty much have to pull back from anything we were doing, because how would we overcome the blockade? But everyone there, especially that family Rachel stood to protect, they were really clear. Don't stop. Don't walk away from us just because there's a barrier in place. Help us do whatever we can do. Help us make it possible for us to respond and to do the best we can. It made sense. I mean, we started in Gaza with even just leveling playing fields for soccer after the 2008 bombings, just finding ways to bring community back together. And then in 2014, Israel bombed Gaza for 51 days, 1,000 bombs a day. Families ran for their lives with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Over 2,000 people took refuge in a UN school where Khaled Nasrallah, part of Rachel's Gaza family, was the director. Khaled's own family had taken refuge in a previous attack, so he told me, "We didn't think we could go on living, but when people gave us soap and toothpaste, they gave us hope." He needed us to do that now. Palestinian shops signed agreements with us to provide hygiene and cleaning supplies to families sheltering in the school during the bombing. We could not have done this without the Rachel Corrie Foundation and the Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee. We started with Khalid's Rafah School and then expanded, delivering to 17 more UN schools being used as shelters. We were amazed we could do this with just promissory notes. We brought Right to Movement marathoners to America to raise funds to pay the bill. What else? How else? What else? Where did that lead to? We knew that people lost everything, so a clothing drive took place. Rebuilding Alliance's office filled from floor to ceiling, and then together we brought all those levels of our community to fill the container, a 40-foot container, and send gently used clothing to Gaza, getting it through the blockade. Then we sent backpacks with school supplies to children in neighborhoods devastated by bombing. Next, 35,000 solar lights to children with only 4 hours of daily electricity. Now, we're helping people grow their own food through a Gardens and Goats program. We're working with Mrs. Najah's Kitchen to deliver protein-rich meals to families in need. We're delivering medical food to children who can't digest protein, children with PKU. I'm hoping, too, that we're able to open the blockade of Gaza. All of us have been working together for so many years, but finally now we're seeing there is an opening, just a tiny one. Maybe U.S. policy, for whatever reason, is pressing forward, allowing exports from Gaza and from the West Bank, giving people the chance for jobs. Palestinians have an ability to make their own living. They don't want aid. They really want to make their own future. So that little bit of an opening, that would suggest that exports are being allowed. Well, we can play a role there. We can hold trade shows. We can ask for your support to buy Palestinian products. So our work is characterized by both direct aid and advocacy. And this is because right from the start, the question arose, look, if you're going to ask for help to build a kindergarten, can you promise that you'll keep it standing? That's a fair question that came up right away because while we were building the kindergarten in 2004, the Israeli army issued demolition orders against the whole village. 4 years later, Israel's High Court heard Al-Aqba's appeal. As this case came due, the children's anxiety heightened, so to allay their fears, we asked them to create pinwheels for peace. This project had them write and draw what peace means to them on paper pinwheels. This helped the children feel heard and lessened their anxiety. Meanwhile, we figured we'd have to ask the US government to intervene, so I set out to call and email everyone I knew to contact Congress. A Muslim sister in Virginia organized a meeting with her senator and asked for people of all faiths to join her. A Rotary District governor said he'd be there and offered to teach us how to walk the halls of Congress, so we joined him in Washington. When we saw legislators, we'd say, let us show you these pictures of our kindergartens. You've got to see their pinwheels for peace. And we rolled it out in front of them. And it worked. The High Court said, for the time being, the center of Al-Aqba will remain standing. So when Susia faced total demolition in 2016, we said, well, if the photos worked, what if we bring the children to Congress in person? Maybe the best way to reach Congress in the barriers that are here now is to really let children speak, let them bring their vision of peace forward. Okay, so what happens? We brought them to Washington and they gave briefings to Congress. Then Senator Feinstein took the extraordinary step of asking to meet them in her office. She listened carefully and was so moved she hugged them. Most importantly, she took action. She wrote a series of open letters to the Prime Minister of Israel, who put the demolition orders on hold. But the orders never went away. They're still in place today, and unfortunately, things are getting worse. Demolitions have been on the rise, especially schools, so Rebuilding Alliance invited constituents to join hundreds of briefings with Congress this year. We're able to get both Republicans and Democrats to listen. For example, Jimba Elementary was slated for demolition and we had 14 days to respond. We got Senator Feinstein to send a private letter, and it likely stopped the demolition. Jimba Elementary was informed that their school would remain standing. But only 4 days later, Ain Samia Elementary was demolished. Because letters from senators and representatives may be the only way to halt the demolitions, everyone is asking us, Rebuilding Alliance, to get Congress to intervene. They're asking us for aid, and they're asking us to cover court costs. We know how to do this, but we need resources to make this all happen. So if you're able, please donate now. All of your support, from small to large, all of us make the difference. And all of us mean that Palestinian Sumud remains effective. Together, we can get one step closer to a just and lasting peace throughout Palestine and Israel. Thank you.